within the United States, there has been no legal process. You know, it wouldn't be so bad if there had been a legal process that forced Visa International, which is registered in San Francisco, to not do business with us. Because we could then go to court and argue it one way or another within the United States. That is not what has happened. This has happened entirely outside of the rule of law, and it demonstrates that major economic decisions, that is, people in India being unable to express their economic sovereignty, are being made not only outside the rule of law of India, but even outside the rule of law of the United States. So this is a backroom decision-making that should normally occur in a court, and it is not. And what does that mean? It means that the rule of law within the United States, within the West, is breaking down. The US Treasury, in January this year, did look at this issue. And that has been the only time there has been an administrative process that has looked into it. And the Treasury Secretary, Timothy C. Geithner, found that there was no legal reason to add WikiLeaks to a US Treasury blacklist. So as far as the formal US government is concerned, we are in the clear. But now we have the informal US government acting against us.
Mr. Assange, a question from me. You've talked about the emergence of a transnational elite that cuts across political boundaries. You've said you're cynical or skeptical about the prospects for any kind of international law that protects privacy. You've suggested that the security services of the world get around politicians by saying you have to listen to us because we're aware of terrorist threats that you don't understand. You've gone on to say that many of these organizations that are involved in interception sometimes work perhaps for commercial interests. Even if they don't, the information that's collected is not necessarily used for the fight against terrorism. The picture you paint of the world is a fairly bleak one. In your worldview, is there a solution? Is there an alternative?
Look, the German company Element, that's one of these bulk interceptors, in its sales pitches to intelligence agencies, it says, in black and white, that this technology can be used to target political opponents. This is a German company. Within Europe, Germany is considered to be one of the countries that has the strongest rule of law, and yet we see a German company which sells this equipment to the German government as well as to other countries, saying explicitly that it can be used to target political opponents. I mean, it's just extraordinary that they could even believe that they could say such a thing and get away with saying such a thing, that was an acceptable position to take. You know, that usually you expect that people, while they might do this under the surface, they would never actually say it so directly. And that shows you how the rule of law and the rule of ethics is breaking down to such a degree that they don't even feel the need to say it. So, yes, that is a bleak picture, and perhaps as a result of making this public, there will be a back reaction. I hope there will be a back reaction on those companies and those people within government who are close to those companies who have licensed their activities. But it could go the other way. By making this information public, perhaps we will simply normalize the behavior in public, and that will be the new normal standard, that type of political interference by surveillance companies.
All right. I think I'll take one more question.
Actually, our only hope as a civilization is in fact to create networks of people who have certain values and make those networks stronger. I mean, we have a transnational security elite that is very busy quickly creating its own network and exchanging information and exchanging money and exchanging patronage, rising up extraordinarily quickly. I think the only counter to that is we have to create other networks with different values, because this is something that is not about nation states anymore. These companies work across nation states. I mean, one of these German companies, ETI, was bought 12 months ago by BAE, which is a British company. These are transnational security companies.
All right. Let me take one more question while we still have time.
Not even a proper barrier between companies in Russia and companies in the West. Even that is starting to break down.
All right. Question? Somebody at the back? Yeah. Quickly.
Yeah. As the world's foremost whistleblower, do you think there is still scope for change and transparency in today's world, which is in reality survives on the relationship between politics, corporations, and people? And just so that you know, sitting in this very room are some of India's leading politicians, ministers, and PR people.
I think we have to try. You know, India is one of the most hopeful countries as far as RTI and transparency is concerned. It is being taken seriously as a cultural value in India. You know, the Associated Press did a great study, which I recommend to everyone, about a week and a half ago, where they used RTI legislation in various countries, in Western countries, in developing countries, and looked at how long it took to get information back and how much information they got back. And India was one of the best. So there has been targeting of people using RTI legislation, but in terms of responsiveness, the Indian government is one of the best. And other responsive countries were countries like Ecuador and Brazil. Some of the least responsive was the United States, Great Britain, Canada, and so on. Why? Aren't these meant to be the examples of liberal democracy, the examples of open public accountability? No, because the Freedom of Information Act of the United States has been there since the early 1970s. And the US federal government has learnt all the tricks that are necessary to delay actually handing over information. Learn all the tricks that they can use to redact the maximum amount of information. So there is a law on the US statute books that you must respond within a certain amount of time. But the rule of law within the United States is breaking down. Bureaucrats are simply working out how to cover, how to say one thing, yes, we are a very open government. On the other hand, in practice, not be open. And that's been empirically measured now by the Associated Press in a comparison of over 30 countries.
A final question, Mr. Assange. Enough about us, enough about India. Tell us about yourself. What stage of the appeals process are you at now? Do you expect to be extradited? What is the current situation?
Well, look, just today it has come out in the Australian newspapers as a result of information extracted from Australian cables from Washington, that the Australian government was aware in December last year that and this is using the Australian ambassador's words, an investigation into us that was unprecedented in scale and nature, and a targeting of me personally that was vigorous and active, and of the secret US grand jury investigation, which started up last year, which is attempting to indict me for espionage, and perhaps others also. That continues now, and information has become public about that US grand jury investigation. On December 16, one of our alleged sources, who is alleged to have blown his cover by speaking to a US researcher for Wired magazine, will start the first stage of his trial. So a lot of information, I imagine, will be coming out on December 16 over that 5-day period. He has been in prison for over 500 and 60 days without trial. I have been detained without charge now for 2 days short of a year under house arrest. On Monday, there will be an attempt to, a final appeal attempt within the UK. The judgment, in all likelihood, is that I probably will be extradited. Maybe we will get an appeal to the Supreme Court. On the same day in London, there will be an historic debate in the UK Parliament into the abuses of the extradition system in the United Kingdom in relation to me and also in relation to others, and a vote on that in common. So Monday is going to be a very interesting day politically in the United Kingdom and for me personally.
But looking ahead, what is your view? Are you reconciled to spending time in jail, or do you think you'll be able to fight the system?
Well, you know, one of the nice things is I might actually have time to read a book. The last time I read a novel when I was in jail before. So it's not necessarily something that has no blessing. But of course, it does make it a little bit harder to act in the way that I want to act. The big concern is really that this US extradition request will come in at some point. And according to United States law, we are in the clear. I'm in the clear personally as a publisher. Our organization is in the clear. No one from our organization has been charged with an offense. But the problem is, does the rule of law still work in the United States?
And your view is, does it
And
work?
does the rule of law still work in Sweden? Or can the rule of law be influenced? And the process itself, you know, I have not been charged. I've been under house arrest for a year. Presumably these cases will go on for some time. That gives me an important and very interesting platform to speak about the things that I believe in, which is a positive. On the other hand, process is punishment. You know, you can be found innocent of everything in the end, but 5 years of legal harassment and spending your time dealing with the court system is a tax on your ability to act. So that is an issue, avoiding process tax within the legal system.
Well, Mr. Assange, what can I say? Lots and lots of luck with your battle. Thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanghvi. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a short break of 10 minutes. Again, we've got refreshments in Shah Jahan. Please return for the next session, which will start in 10 minutes. Settling disputes for a common cause is the topic of that session. Thank you.